Welcome back to the Go to Go podcast, man. Episode 96. NBA Finals just concluded last night. Series only going 5 games, closing it out in Boston, man. We're going to get right into it. We're also going to touch on the Trevor Lawrence contract, highest paid now in the NFL. We're going to touch on that a little bit as well this episode, man. But starting off, NBA Finals. Mavs took game 4 at home, but game 5 got ugly pretty quick. And I mean the Celtics ran off with this one. I think depth proved, very well for the Boston Celtics, how deep that team was, uh, and their bench and the health of the Mavericks, I also feel like played a role. I'll let you dive right into it, man. Your thoughts on this series. I know you picked the Celtics in 6. They were able to get it done in 5. So, once again, man, you got the correct pick here in the finals. Tip my hat to you for this one, but your thoughts on this series?
Yeah, well, I'm just gonna have to say, to start it off, you mentioned I'm gonna take the dub here. I know you picked the what? Mavericks in six, right?
7, yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, regardless, I had Celtics in seven. I thought it'd be a little more competitive, but I mean, as we kind of saw the series go on, especially after game one, it pretty much went exactly how we thought. I mean, the Mavs tried their best. Outside of Luka Doncic, there was really no one else there to make it competitive. Now, in game four, Celtics just, couldn't buy a bucket, and Luka was out of his mind. He got some really good minutes from the role players, talked about last episode, but I mean, game five, down the stretch, once the Celtics got that lead, I mean, this whole season they've been blowing those big 20-point leads, but especially after Pritchard hit that, 3/4 court shot from the right before halftime, it kind of just felt like the Celtics would run away with it. And we kind of been saying it all playoffs, like you mentioned, that depth, having the ability to have four, legit players to go to down the stretch. I think it just proved to be a little too much for the Mavericks.
Yeah, no doubt. The Mavericks, they put up a good fight, but in the end, just too much on the Celtics side. You mentioned Pritchard's half-court shot, momentum swing before halftime. I think it was like a 15-point lead or something like that. You go 18 with the momentum swing at
I think it was
home
18 and they went to 21 and a half.
and went to 21. Yeah,
Yeah,
so
it's a
put
big
them up
difference.
20 plus points, trying to dig yourself out of a hole. And for the Mavericks, they couldn't get a bucket on that Celtics defense. Uh, tough games from Kyrie not being able to buy buckets. Showed up in game 4, but game 5 in front of that Boston crowd, he had nothing. So, your two superstars you rely on, Luca defensively was, the highest blow by rate. I think the stat was like 60% blow bys in one of the games. Uh, Getting easily to the basket. I mean, outside of Derek Lively kind of holding it down somewhat in the paint, those role players that stepped up this entire playoffs, like PJ Washington, Derek Jones, PJ Washington, he can buy a bucket whatsoever this entire series outside of game 4. Uh, you got Kristaps back last game. They didn't even need him in the Celtics. You had JB, who was, finals MVP over Tatum. I know some people believe, maybe Tatum should have got it. I'm not with them on that one.
Now,
JB,
Brown was a better player that entire series. He was. I
I
will honestly
agree.
say Drew Holiday was ahead of Jayson Tatum too.
I'm right there with you. I mean, you had the big games early on offensively from Drew, his impact defensively, as well as Brown's defensively, really helped the Celtics get this series. And then his efficiency on offense. I mean, Tatum's stats might look better when it comes to averages. I think he averaged, the most points, assists, and rebounds on the team, but his efficiency wise, there wasn't a game where he touched 50% from the field. While Jaylen Brown, consistently shot. I think it was 40 something percent for the entire series. So you look at it, yeah, he dropped 22 points a game or 20.8 points a game, 5.4 rebounds, 5 assists a game, including a 30-point game 3, and put 21 to close it out in game 5. I mean, they had everybody hitting. Hauser was hitting some shots. Derek White, he was back in his bag. We've been seeing, kind of this playoff run, him playing really well. And, kind of up another level than he did last year and some of the regular season as well. So
Yeah,
y-
it's a completely different from last year. I remember in that Heat series, bro. Like there was times Derek, like we were questioning, like he shouldn't even be on the court. Like he couldn't buy a
mhm.
bucket. And now this playoffs, this especially in the finals and down the stretch here, he's been. I feel like he's hit the most like big shots for this Celtics team. Although JB had that big shot down the stretch in Game 3, that little midi to kind of put the game away when the Mavs were trying to come back. But in terms of like down the stretch, hitting those big threes, like the momentum threes. Derek White had all of those shots for the Celtics this finals run.
Yeah, and you mentioned a JB shot in game three. I mean, that kind of sealed the deal. I think White last night, a couple times the Mavericks started chipping away, trying to narrow down that lead. And it seems like every time the Celtics responded, White, he had a big three during that swing, just kind of, keep the ball rolling for the Celtics and not let the Mavericks get any sort of chance back into that game. And you just look at it, man, Jaylen Brown, Eastern Conference Finals MVP, Finals MVP now as well, getting paid last year. People were sort of questioning it. And I mean, Jaylen Brown, he certainly turned it up this postseason and kind of, even though he did have the most elite team around him these playoffs, he certainly showed up and showed out when his number was called. So hats off to him. And I mean, the Celtics great run. Joe Mazzulla apparently had a torn, I think it was a meniscus since March. He said he's gonna go get surgery or something like
All
that. But
right, bro. Now,
it's
bro, what is it up with coaches getting injured like this playoffs, bro? Like, what is
it's
it? The Minnesota coach, Chris Finch, like, bro, he had like this, like, he
knee
tore something
surgery,
too, and
yeah.
yeah, exactly. So, like, is that what it takes to be successful? Just like blow
It
your knee
just
out on the sideline, your coach, like, your team's gonna have success in the playoffs if you're an NBA coach. There you go.
I
That's the
want to know
formula.
like what move it was that, like were they jumping on the sideline? Was it just like a random cut? Like what
Um,
exactly was it for you to tear your meniscus? Should coaches start warming up? Like clearly
you might
maybe
have to get a little stretching or something,
I've
bro.
never seen Pop get tear anything on the sidelines. So as long as he's still good, I mean, I'm sure these coaches
Probably
will
popped
too.
a couple blood vessels, so that might count for something.
Yeah, high heart rate. That's about it, bro. But
Hmm.
um I mean, for the Mavericks, it's just the role players. They couldn't contribute. PJ Washington was probably one of the best role players there was this playoffs in the Western Conference, and you didn't get anything out of your three. I think Derek Lively joins Magic Johnson as the only 20-year-olds or younger to drop a double double in the
Saw that.
finals. Uh, and it was just tough for the Mavs. Luka being bandaged up all game, whatever it was. I'm not even gonna get in. I felt like I've hated on the Celtics just enough this postseason. I'm not gonna get on, any of the post game uh clips or videos or quotes I
Jayson Tatum
saw.
clip farming in the finals, bro.
Yeah,
Insane. But I
they're
wanna I
going.
wanna go back to the Mavericks, which you touched on with Dallas.
Yeah,
I think I think this was a good stepping stone, a good learning curve for this Dallas team and Luca, especially this front office, to kind of see where you want this team to go and what direction. Saw a tweet. I don't know how true it is. It was a tweet, but it it said Luca led the NBA playoffs in every single large statistical stat except blocks. Like he had the most points, he had the most rebounds, he had the most double doubles, he had the most assists, he had the most triple doubles, like out of anybody in the playoffs. So clearly, Luca is a good enough player to win a championship on his own. He's a good one, but I mean, as good as we saw this duo of Luca and Kyrie, in the playoffs down the stretch, we had a conversation best backcourt of all time. Me and you were like, well, let's slow down. Let's not say best of all time, but most skilled. We think like there's a chance. But after watching this finals, after seeing Kyrie just getting completely taken out, I don't think that's like the best fit you need from Luca right now. Luca doesn't need another guard to help him score. Luca can clearly handle everything he needs to on the offensive side of the ball in terms of scoring, in terms of scoring. I think they need another like in terms of a number two player, they just need another big wing, bro. If they could get somebody like a Kawhi type or like a Paul George type. Not saying those exact players, but someone that can give you some size, kind of help guarding those bigger players. Especially you look at the West, you look at the teams that are having success in the East, or just take the Celtics matchup, for instance. Someone that can provide some more size and defense and guarding a guy like Jayson Tatum, although, we've bashed on him, he had a solid game 5, and he was a big reason the Celtics won, or even someone that can guard Jaylen Brown, another bigger guard, can move to the forward spot, a big guy with size, have someone that can guard them, and then just be able to score off the ball, be able to shoot, be able to create a little bit, but I don't think you need two primary ball handlers like Kyrie and like Luka on the same team, because when Kyrie was playing with LeBron, he is similar to Luka in the way that like Luka has to dominate the ball, LeBron has to dominate the ball, but LeBron is 6'8", one of the most athletic players. Like he can affect the game a lot more than Luka can in terms of playing without the basketball. LeBron can cut to the goal. LeBron is a solid spot up shooter, and what he brings defensively is leaps and bounds ahead of what Luka can do. So I think that's why it kind of paired well back when they were in Cleveland, and they were saying LeBron needed Kyrie, but I think it was easier for them to take turns then. Also, LeBron was older; he understood what it took to win championships. Whereas you got Luka, who's all he's known his entire life is just dominate the ball. Kyrie, we always best ball handler, gets to the rim, elite scorer, can score any way he wants. Like both of those guys need the ball in their hands, and when you have Luka, who is like the best ball dominant player in the NBA right now, you want somebody that can kind of score off of him, somebody that can add a little more to the plate. Whereas it just felt like Kyrie kind of brought everything Luka did just a little worse, and it kind of got redundant down the stretch. Whereas the Celtics were like, okay, Luka's gonna get his points. We'll just do everything we can to take away Kyrie, and no one else is gonna beat us. Whereas if you have somebody else that can contribute on both sides of the ball, it's like, all right, maybe he's not having the best offensive game, but at least he's blocking shots. He's getting steals. He's affecting the ball. He's, taking away the Celtics' best player and making it easier for Luka to, instead of having to match 4 players on offense, Luka can, kind of just match those 1 or 2 guys that are scoring. So I think that would be the missing piece. But it kind of seems like every single team right now could use an elite scoring wing. That's just like the hottest commodity right now in the NBA. Like everyone can use that. But I just think where it shows that the Mavericks, I think that was really the missing piece. Whereas you look at the Celtics, their 4 best players are literally exactly what the Dallas Mavericks needed. Like someone that can hit a three and play elite defense on the perimeter with size. Like that's literally all the Boston Celtics have. So I think team building in turn, because you look at the big man, like they have the big man solidified. They got all they need. Maybe you would like to see Lively or Gafford maybe be able to shoot a little bit more, stretch a little bit more. Gafford probably not his game. Lively his first career 3 in the finals, so maybe he can add that to his game. He's still super young, like 20 years old, so he could maybe add that to his game and add a little 3-level scoring capability there. But I just think they're solid at the big man and they're solid at the point guard and guard position. They just need that one middle bridge player for the Mavericks to become real contenders, because you look at the West, like it was competitive this year. Like it could be even more competitive next year with teams coming back healthy, guys coming back with more experience. We don't know who's going to end up where. Like you can go down the list and name the teams. Like it's not getting easier in the West. It's going to be a lot more difficult, and then the East is still kind of wide open. So it's going to be interesting to see if the Mavs can get back. They have Luka. I think Luka is good enough to get back. It's just going to kind of be one of those things again where I think right now the West is all based on matchups, because if the Nuggets were able to get the Mavericks and the Nuggets found out a way to beat the Timberwolves, I think I like them over the Celtics, especially with Jokic and his size. Whereas Porzingis goes out in a series against Jokic, like the Celtics are done. They literally have no one to stop him in his playmaking. So it's going to be interesting to see this offseason and going into next season what the West kind of looks like. But I mean, we could talk about it now, or you go over some teams and stuff. Like it's going to be crazy next season.
Yeah, I mean, go ahead. I agree with you.
I mean, well, to start off, the Mavericks won the West, so the Mavericks aren't going anywhere. OKC, we talked about them, all playoff run. Like they're a young
Exactly.
team.
Yep.
SGA is not going anywhere. They have, I believe, they have some of the most cap space in the league. So they're going to bring in the big man, to help Shet. So those guys are going to continue to get better. Timberwolves, Anthony Edwards, those guys kind of saw him come out to the scene. I mean, do you want to mention the Warriors? I mean, they got the credibility with Curry and Draymond. They're kind of more on the tail end. Not too sure how much you believe in them. The
What are the
Nuggets, we just
Suns?
talked about Nuggets, Suns, KD. What are they gonna do? And you can't forget about the Grizzlies, bro. Ja comes back fully healthy. 2 years
Mm-hmm.
ago, they were kind of like the Minnesota Timberwolves.
Yep.
Took the Warriors to 6 or 7 games. So if Ja comes back fully healthy, like I can see him having a similar playoff run to somebody like how Anthony Edwards came onto the scene. Who says Ja can't do that? I mean, the list goes on. Like
What's going
the
on in
Zion finally
both
getting
LA
healthy.
teams? Yeah.
Yeah, what did
Pels.
the Clippers do? Like the Pelicans, they were, they got some really good pieces on defense. They got an Ingram move they could make. They'll probably end up shipping him. So, no, the West is going to be shaking up a lot, bro. So it's like I would probably say Denver is at the top to come out again. You just got to give them credit
I
and
think they
respect
were
for what they did.
favorited. Uh
Yeah, I think they're favored to win the title next year.
no, I think they're number two. I think the
Yeah.
Celtics got the repeat and then the Nuggets
All right,
number
number
two.
two.
I
Yeah,
could be wrong
I
though.
knew they were number one out of the West at least, though. Yeah. But no, it's gonna be crazy, bro. The West next year. So I mean, we're
Yeah,
gonna see.
Pelicans don't want to pay Ingram that 50 some million dollars. Interesting to see what goes on there. I mean, around the league, you got a bunch of teams in the West, top down, both teams in LA, what they're gonna do. LeBron, this year, what's he gonna do? And then even the East, man, East gets healthy. You get healthy Jalen Brunson, you get a healthy Donovan Mitchell,
Randall coming
healthy,
back too for the Knicks. Randall
yep,
didn't play at all in the
OG
playoffs, and
Anunoby.
that's another
What's he gonna
team. The
do?
Knicks. The Knicks are another team that got that cap space to where we always get that one random superstar in the
Hmm.
offseason that requests a trade and want to make a move, a player of significance that wants to lead a team. The Knicks got the big market. They have enough money. They got the draft capital. Knicks are a team that could definitely try to make a big splash and make a move to compete, especially now where the East kind of seems like it's wide open, even though the Celtics pretty much just dominated it. But outside of the Celtics, it didn't really seem like there was anyone else. But yeah, like you mentioned, Giannis, he comes back healthy. Him and
Hmm.
Dame get a full offseason. They kind of get a little bit more experience together. Jimmy probably ends up coming back to the Heat. What do they have cooking up? Like they're always going to be competitive just in terms of just hanging around, being in their scrappy team. So yeah, it should be. I think it's going to be a lot different next season.
Yeah, I always say Pat Riley's gonna wake up, but maybe the Celtics winning the championship, ignites something in him and that Heat team. But there's a lot of teams. You go on and on with this West and East. The depth in the West, obviously, a little deeper. Especially you mentioned John Morant. Even when he came back for, that little stretch of games,
Yeah, he
the
was going
Grizzlies
off.
were like dead last, and he was kind of rising them, you know, to the back end of that play-in tournament, kind of giving them a little bit of hope. Um, so you never know. I mean, the Rockets almost made that insane comeback in the West too, as
Yeah, the
well.
Rockets and another team, and they got a lottery pick. It's like a top. They got a
Young,
number
young,
2, 3 pick. Like
yeah, young
it was like
squad.
Jalen Green made that big step. He was going off at the end of the season. Yeah, so I mean, the Rockets is definitely a team that could have some future success.
Yeah,
It's it's gonna be interesting. Yeah,
we'll see. Next season, free agency. Obviously, I think teams can now start talking to their respected free agents in contract talks. New rule, I think. Brian Windhorst was talking about yesterday. So these teams gonna lock up interesting big name free agents out there. A few of them. Teams trades maybe. We'll see. Guys that teams that don't want to pay some guys last expiring year contracts. We'll see if they dish them out this offseason as well. We'll obviously be touching on that as it goes. But as far as, NBA finals or even, future, anything you want to talk about?
no, that's pretty much it. The only thing I will mention, I know you'll like this one. saying Bronny might go in the first round, and teams
Why would
looking to
I like?
lure in LeBron James. What do you think about
Um, I I honestly don't think it's gonna lure LeBron in at this point. It's tough. I mean, obviously he's got the home in LA. You got to think he's up there in age. He still got Bryce. Does he still want to be around, his son with his high school games? Obviously, Bronny being his oldest, holding the LeBron name as well. It could play a factor, but I think reaching for him
or
and
everyone's saying Bryce is better than Bronny. Depending on how good Bryce is, does Bron want to play with both of them? Like,
I
if
mean,
Bryce is
dude,
a
that's gonna be
legitimate
what?
one and
I
done,
think
I
he's
think he's
got
in his senior year this year coming
since
up. So it would
two
be like
years
in three
left.
seasons.
Yeah, three
Yeah,
seasons.
like
I
I can see LeBron just hanging
what
on, chilling on the
coasting
bench.
three
Yeah,
years?
just to play with both of his sons. Bro, like
That'd be
he's 40
crazy.
years old, bro. He still made an All NBA team. Like Bron was hooping this year, bro. Like
That's
so, it's
that's
not
what
like he's just gonna
LeVar
fall
Ball
off of a
wanted
cliff, bro.
with
Like
his
he's
three
not just
kids.
falling. Like Bron's still gonna be hooping, bro. Like he might not be, like LeBron in his prime, like he or second stint Cavs or even first stint Cavs, but like, bro, he could be solid at, maybe get like
I
18 points a game,
I
couple
think he would hang
boards,
him up
be
before
able
he
to
did that
assist.
though. I
Nah, I think
you know
LeBron will try to get the most out of his career, bro. Like, cause he's
okay.
not, cause in terms of trying to be the greatest of all time, like, fam, he's not gonna pass Jordan in rings. He's gonna have to do everything else, bro. Like, he's got the scoring title. Like, he's gonna try to get like the most like rebounds, most assists, most triple double. Like, he's gonna try to do like as much possible
He
as
already
he can,
passed
bro.
Wilt all-time scoring. Like,
Bro, he's number one in all time scoring, fam.
yeah,
Like,
that's what I'm saying.
he
He
has
already
the
passed
record.
Wilt. Yeah.
Yeah, he passed Kareem. So he's gonna try
Oh,
to make that
Kareem. Yeah,
record
yeah,
like
Wilt.
more and more untouchable. Like he's gonna have to do like everything
Two
he
old
can
heads.
besides winning rings in terms of, trying to match Jordan's legacy, bro.
And we'll see with that, man. I don't know how I feel about luring LeBron with Bronny, but we'll see, man.
No,
I
I
think
think Lakers get him, bro.
I think
Realistically.
saw a little meme. It was like me and my dad's accounting firm with the 2.6 GPA, and it was Bronny working out with the Lakers the other day. Um, but we'll see when it comes to that, man. I mean, no doubt. But Trevor Lawrence uh contract becoming the highest paid player. We touched on it before the show, and I kind of agree with you. You're gonna have to pay him every time a quarterback gets paid. You're likely to get the highest paid contract, new contracts every year. These guys get more and more money every single year. So it really doesn't matter. 275 million, 142 guaranteed, 55 annually on a 5-year deal for the Jags. And, proof in the pudding, they combined him and Daniel Jones' numbers. I don't think you can compare him what he's gone through in Jacksonville. Obviously, the Giants on a decline now, but Daniel Jones was probably in a better environment. Um, all these, if you look at the expected touchdowns versus the actual touchdowns with Trevor Lawrence, I think he has the biggest difference. Most dropped touchdowns last year in the NFL. But uh, if you're the Jags, I think you have to pay T Law, number one overall pick. He's shown flashes, pro style quarterback. I don't hate the deal. And like I said, every year is always going to be a new highest paid player in the league, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna disagree with you in terms of, Daniel Jones had, a solid organization or solid structure coming in. Like as an Eagles fans, watching the Giants, twice a year, being, keeping up with the division stuff. I mean, the best receiver Daniel Jones has like thrown to was maybe Darren Waller. Like that, like I'm not even joking. Like that might be like legit
No,
BB
yeah,
or
yeah. I agree
Saquon
with
Barkley
that.
out the
Saquon.
backfield. Like I mean, and then right now Saquon on the Eagles, a division rival, and Darren Waller just retired for his like rap career or whatever. Like the memes are all over the place. So like Malik Neighbors is legit probably going to step in and be the best like actual receiver Daniel Jones has had his entire career, and he got drafted in
Kenny
what
Galladay.
2018, 2019. Kenny Galladay, yeah, that's a good one. So I won't say the O line, the Giants O line has always been terrible. They've had
Bad.
solid defenses and stuff
Hmm.
and a decent run game, but in terms of like stuff to support a quarterback, in terms of like what a quarterback actually does, it's been shaky. The main difference I would say is, watching the games and watching the two play, like yeah, they got similar numbers and stuff like that, but that 2022 season for Daniel Jones, that kind of felt like that was his ceiling. Like this is the best we're gonna get from Daniel Jones. There isn't any much wiggle room in terms of him getting better, him elevating from where he was. At that point, he was like a top 15 to 12 quarterback in the league from
Yep.
that when he was playing that season. A lot of it had to do with his rushing ability as well. So that was a big part of it. Whereas Trevor Lawrence, you can say they had similar situations in terms of, you know, who were they really throwing to? Like Calvin Ridley last season was the best receiver Trevor Lawrence had, to work with. And we kind of all saw like, all the drop touchdowns, the miscommunications, not on the same page.
Revived
Urban
Devin Ingram's
Meyer,
career.
yeah, Urban Meyer coming in, they both had Evan Ingram, yeah. So
Yeah.
and you saw who
But he
had the most
revived
success
it.
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. But Urban Meyer, the head coach, I would say we all know what that disaster what that was like for
Bunch
Trevor
of
Lawrence
different
coming in his
systems.
rookie
Yeah.
his rookie year. Yeah. So it feels like there's more. We see a lot more flashes with Trevor Lawrence, more the prototypical side. So if I'm the Jags, I'm there with them as well. I'm a little cautious. I'm saying, we want to see more, but we believe in you. We believe that, there is another level. There is more potential there with Trevor Lawrence that, he hasn't reached his ceiling yet. Whereas it kind of felt like Daniel Jones was getting paid for what he did in 2022, to whereas it kind of feels like Trevor Lawrence is getting paid for what he can do in terms of, the rest of his career the next few seasons. So from the Jags, I don't hate it. Like you mentioned, I mean, all these quarterbacks, even these receivers, like all these big time positions and flashy positions, they're getting money, they're getting paid. So it kind of just is what it is at this point in the league. It's kind of where we're at right now, where, like you said, every contract feels like it's going to be the biggest contract when they sign it.
Yeah. It's funny. Browns need to lock up Amari Cooper. I need to touch on that, man. You gotta get him. Brandon Ayuk, man. You got any comments on that? He posted that little video today. Or yesterday.
I mean, bro, in terms of receiver wise, I think Brandon Ayuk was the best receiver on that team.
Oh
Like
yeah.
being an Eagles fan and stuff, like I was a lot more worried about Ayuk attacking downfield and stuff. I mean, Debo, what he does, his versatility, obviously,
Hmm.
very very valuable to that San Fran offense and that scheme, especially Shanahan, how he likes to use them. But in terms of like just creating separation, being a true route runner, getting open, I think Brandon Ayuk was better than Debo Samuel, was the best receiver on that team. So I think eventually they'll get a contract done. I mean, I just feel like it's that time of year. It's like June in the NFL schedule, so it's like
Nothing
people
going
are
on.
gonna, yeah, they're gonna make something about Brandon Ayuk saying, oh, they don't want me or whatever. I think Ayuk ends up resigning. Like I don't see why he wouldn't, especially at this point. Like about a month or two away from training camp actually starting, the season starting in about 3 months. So I mean, at this point, you kind of want to just get along with it, get it through the past. So I think they eventually come to an agreement.
Yeah, man. NFL season coming up, obviously gonna cover that as well as we get into it. Rookies to watch out for, teams, and of course our yearly predictions, man. But you got um any other topics, anything you want to cover before we sign off here?
No, not really. I mean, heading into the dog days of the summer, man, we're gonna have to start talking about the Olympics or something.
Tune into that Guardians baseball, man. Best team in the
Yeah.
AL Central.
What is it like? Game 80 right now. The All-Star break hasn't even started.
Yeah, All-Star break coming up soon. I think it's either this month or next month. I think it's next month. Vote David Fry into the All-Star game, man. Best DH in the AL. Don't at me, but is what it is. Definitely dog days of the summer. Yeah, Olympics, man. Should be, what is it? Paris? London?
Yeah,
No, Paris, Paris. Yep.
Paris. Yeah.
So, I mean, hey, I guess we'll see. But until then, man, Goal to Go, episode 96, Goal to Go on everything streaming, Goal to Go pod, TikTok, And until next time, man, peace.